They were men who had slaughtered, and who had become rich on their prisoners, and they were cheerful, careless, and serpent breath sang soft in her scabbard. I heard the clatter as the oars were thrust into their rowlocks. A voice called, "Push off!" The great beak of the enemy ship, crowned with a monster's painted head, turned out into the river. "Now!" I called, and Cerdric slashed the rope, and our oars bit into the river as I pushed my way forward between the rowers' benches. "Pull!" Ralla roared. "Kill every last bastard!" I shouted, as I climbed onto the bow platform where my shield waited. "Kill them all!" I put on my helmet, hefted the shield, and slid serpent breath from her scabbard. She did not sing now. She screamed. "Kill!" I shouted. "Kill! Kill! Kill!" Ahead of us, the enemy ship slewed as panicked men missed their stroke. They were shouting, scrambling over the benches where a few men still tried to row. Women screamed and men tripped each other. "Pull!" Ralla shouted. Our ship surged into the current as the enemy was swept towards us. "Now!" I called to Cerdric, and he threw the grapnel so it caught on the enemy's bow, and he hauled to sink it into the ship's timber and so draw her closer. "Now kill!" I shouted, and leapt across the gap. Serpent Breath's first stroke was a back cut, made as I landed on the enemy's bow platform where a man was trying to tug the grapnel free. Serpent Breath half severed his head. Blood brightened the winter day, splashed on my face. I am old now, so old. My bones ache, and I sit in the sun and fall asleep to wake tired. But I remember those fights. My newest wife, as pious a piece of stupid woman who ever whined, flinches when I tell the stories. But how else are we to prepare our young for the wars they must fight? I have fought all my life. That was the fate of us all. Alfred wanted peace, but the Danes and the Norsemen came, and he had no choice but to fight. And when Alfred was dead, more Danes came, and more Norsemen, and the Britons came from Wales, and the Scots howled down from the north. I look at my children, and at their children, and I know they will have to fight, and that so long as there is a kingdom on this windswept island, there will be war. So we cannot flinch from its cruelty, its blood, its stench, its vileness or its joy, because war will come to us whether we want it or not. War is fate, and fate is inescapable. So I tell these stories, so that my children's children will know their fate. I tell how our ship crashed into the enemy's flank, and how the impact drove that other ship's bows towards the southern bank. That was what I had wanted, and Ralla had achieved it perfectly. Now he scraped his ship down the enemy's hull, our impetus snapping the Danes' forward oars as my men jumped aboard, swords and axes swinging. The dead man had fallen off the platform to impede two others trying to reach me, and I shouted a challenge as I leapt down to face them. A bristle-bearded man swung an axe at me, that I met with my outthrust shield, and slid serpent breath into his belly. I gave a fierce twist, so his dying flesh did not grip the blade. Then I yanked her out, and dragged the axe-impaled shield across my body to parry a sword cut. Cedric, whose father had been Kjartan the Cruel, was beside me, driving his short sword up into my nearest attacker's groin. The man screamed. Children cried, women wailed, raiders died. The bows of the enemy ship thumped onto the bank's mud. Raiders, sensing death if they stayed aboard, jumped ashore, and that started a panic. There was a small mist on the river meadows, and through it came Finnan's bright horsemen. They came in two lines, swords held like spears, and Finnan, my deadly Irishman, galloped the first line past the escaping men to cut off their retreat, and let his second line crash into the enemy before he turned and led his own men back to the kill. I saw Clapper, my big Dane, spearing an enemy in the river's shallows. Rapier was hacking his sword at a cowering man. Cedric's sword hand was red. Cerdric was swinging an axe, shouting incomprehensibly as the blade crushed a Dane's helmet to spill blood and brains on the terrified prisoners. The horsemen cut and slashed. Vikings screamed, and some tried to surrender. There had been 54 raiders, and 16 lived as prisoners. "Any of you," I looked at the women, screaming or weeping as they cowered in the bilge, "who wants to kill the man who raped you, do it now." 2 wanted revenge, and I let them use wasps.